Gen Z has a problem. They're promoting Osama bin Laden on TikTok. In a startling turn of events, even more than 2 decades after Osama bin Laden masterminded one of the most catastrophic terrorist attacks in history, he has resurfaced in the digital age on platforms like TikTok. This resurgence is fueled by Gen Z content creators sharing a 2002 letter written by bin Laden, originally published by The Guardian. In this letter, bin Laden rationalized the 9/11 attacks and condemned US support for Israel, among other geopolitical stances. The letter, replete with homophobic and anti Semitic rhetoric, well, I would say even conspiracy theories, has sparked heated discussions among young social media users about US foreign policy and the Israel Hamas conflict. This phenomenon reflects not only the power of social media to resurrect historical figures, but also highlights a critical gap in American education about 9/11 and its aftermath. As one TikTok user put it, quote, "We've been lied to our entire lives," underscoring a profound disconnect between the historical narrative taught in schools and the perspectives gaining traction among the younger generations online. This trend raises serious questions about the dissemination of extremist views under the guise of political discourse, especially among youth largely unfamiliar with the immediate impact of bin Laden's actions. So, yeah, just saying that this is old news. I'm not even gonna lie, this broke my brain so badly that I couldn't even touch it until now. So that's why we're covering it now.
I mean, it's not old news. This is just last week. So, and again, we come.
Like
This
two
is
2 weeks ago, sweetie. That's old news. Get with the program.
yeah, yeah. But we're not here just to report the news to you. We're here to discuss it and give our views and your views on it. So basically, that's what we're here for, right? But yeah, I know everybody knows about this. But can we play some of the videos?
Oh God, I'm gonna get upset again. Okay, go ahead.
This morning I read Letter to America, which is Osama bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And
What?
yeah, so go read it.
So I just read A Letter to America, and I will never look at life the same. I will never look at this country the same. I will never. I Please read it, and if you have read it, let me know if you are also going through an existential crisis in this very moment. Because in the last 20 minutes, my entire viewpoint on the entire life I have believed and I have lived has changed. Please read that entire letter.
I need everyone to stop what they're doing right now and go read. It's literally 2 pages. Go read A Letter to America. And please come back here and just let me know what you think, because I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now. And a lot of people are. So I just need someone else.
I need you to stop what you're doing and go read A Letter to America. It is literally the craziest thing I've read in a while. And while I can't say that I'm that surprised, I am pretty shocked. So go read it and tell me what you think, because I really also need to talk to other people about this. And actually, before you even read the letter, I did want to mention, in reading the letter, I could only think of this tweet that I saw the other day. Under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier.
So this is fucking insane. I just read Osama bin Laden's letter to America, which I will be going through right here, but it's actually so mind fucking to me that terrorism has been sold as this idea to the American people, and honestly just so many Western inhabitants within certain nations, that this group of people, this random group of people, just suddenly wakes up one day and just fucking hates you, just wants you dead, wants you gone. And this is all because they believe that they're better than it. Like, that is the root of terrorism. It doesn't make sense. They just hate your fucking nation. But reading this letter, it becomes apparent to me that the actions of 9/11 and those acts committed against the USA and its people were all just the buildup of our government failing other nations.
Okay, that was music. We cannot play that. That's like that we're gonna get a copyright strike for something like that. So let's just be careful with that. But I think we get the point. Let me actually pass this one. Maybe we get because I want to hear the rest. Hold on. I want to hear the rest, but I don't want to play the one that has music. Oh, great. Twitter always F's with me. Let me get to that part where there's. Let's go to this part, this part, this part. Okay. Past the music part. Wow. Look at Twitter sucks. Twitter sucks. I'm sorry, but it sucks.
Well, let's just work with what
Great.
we've seen so far. It's fine. And we saw enough.
No. I want to see the rest.
Oh,
Yeah,
come
I
on.
really want to see the rest. Yeah. Oh, here.
Because this makes a lot more sense. It explains so much. And I guarantee you it's going to blow your mind. And let's talk about it. So go read it, come back. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, I'm not gonna play it. It keeps bringing up music, so I'm not gonna play the rest. But yeah, we're gonna get a copyright strike because of all this music. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh my god, this is freaking embarrassing.
Hmm.
I literally don't know what to do with Gen Z, guys. I don't know what to do with Gen Z. I mean, I know we have a lot of Gen Z people here. Most of you guys don't live in America, and if we're being honest, it is the American voting base that has is of most consequential to the world.
Yeah.
And I literally think we're like one generation away from full-blown fascism. And it's coming from the younger people, not the older people. Let's be clear.
So what people don't so what a lot of people don't understand is that what keeps the world together right now is the army of one nation. The whole world liberal order that we have right now, that we have managed to bring about ever since World War II. There's one country's military power that is contributing to keeping that in place more than anyone else combined, and that's the United States Army. I think people don't understand the level. People watch the news and they see war and they see chaos and they think like the world is going to crap. And but they don't understand is the world that we have right now, the amount of peace, stability, prosperity that we enjoy right now, it's unique. We've never had this before. So whatever wars that you're seeing is very, very minor compared to the level of violence and war and instability that we have had for the past, I don't know, 10 to 12,000 years in this history of civilization. When we are shocked these days, when we look at the news and we are upset and see tragic events, we're seeing thousands of people are dying. Okay, and that's what shocks us, and it's supposed to shock us. But what we don't see is millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people are dying, because that's what used to be the normal thing. We get now shocked with thousands of people are dying, not hundreds of thousands of people dying. Hundreds of thousands of people dying in war are unimaginable right now for us. But this was basically the norm less than 100 years ago. Right now we have proxies of great nations fighting each other. We don't have great nations fighting with each other. We don't have empires fighting with each other. So We have a level of, we have access to clean water, we have access to healthcare, we have access to food stability, we have access to stability. We have, it's on, we are both blessed and extremely ungrateful for what the world liberal order has brought us, and we don't understand that none of this is possible without the United States military power backing all of this. And the problem with the United States military backing all of this is that it literally depends on less than 100,000 people voting. There are less, there's something between 50,000 and 100,000 Americans that could switch all of this. Right now in the United States, we have both leftists and right-leaning protectionists gaining ground. So we have, from the Republicans, we have Trumpists who are extremely protectionist, who don't want to commit to the US military committing to maintaining the world liberal order. And we, on the left, we have the progressives who agree with the Trumpists on this, right? So we don't, other than the mainstream Democrats and the mainstream Republicans, we have new trends in the American politics that is very, very much moving into focusing on United States and not understanding that this world liberal order that we have is good for the United States. And most states have or are already committed to their candidates. So that means there are only a few states that are left, and within those states, there are only a few counties that are left that could swing, the elections, and that will make it less than if you actually count them together, it's less than 100,000 people that are determining the future of global politics. That they are the people who decide what this godlike power of the U.S. military is focused on or not at all, right? And we can see what the Generation Z is going. And again, we are looking at leftists here. Let me turn this off. Sorry. We're looking at leftists here, but I need you to understand that this is not just a leftist thing. This is also a right-leaning thing, Trumpist thing, and this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous because we could lose everything that we have gained in the past 100 or 200 years if we lose if this is the mentality of future Americans. Everyone's future depends on young Americans voting the correct way, and we are losing them. So this is how important this is. I just wanted to bring all of that up. Yeah, what do you think about everything I just said?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people in our live chat who are like, I'm Gen Z and I'm not like, yeah, like S-Con is saying, I'm Gen Z in the USA and I love my generation for a lot of reasons, but this kind of stuff makes me embarrassed to be Gen Z. Honestly, you have one of the biggest roles to play in helping to make a change because you have more influence and credibility with your own generation. So I know it's really difficult, but I hope you are willing to have some like really uncomfortable conversations with the people around you who hold these attitudes. And I'm not saying it's easy because I had to go through this and I basically lost everything. Like everyone I was friends with, everyone I had known. From a certain period of my life. Um but we need to really call this out. I mean, it's really, really disgusting and it's so like clownish. It's like, I read Letter to America, I'm having an existential crisis, this is life changing, and you go read it, it's like virulent anti-Semitic and homophobic conspiracy theory. They're like, oh my God, this is awakening. It's anti-imperialist, like left-leaning, facial piercing, likely non-binary people being like, oh my God, the anti-imperialism. Oh my God. And then I'm like, what about the straight up virulent Jew-hating conspiracy and homophobia? That didn't cross your mind at all? And what people need to understand that this letter is ultimately a recruitment tool, and it uses the guise of cultural or geopolitical reasons to help bring people who have been disenfranchised into this line of thinking. It's propaganda and a recruitment tool to help make these kinds of actions palatable to people by calling upon and speaking to the people that feel disenfranchised by the systems that they live within. This isn't rocket science.
Exactly.
He speaks this way for a
Um,
reason. He's speaking to certain problems for a reason. And it's also very much couching other serious motivations behind what he's speaking about. And what was so interesting is when this was going viral, I saw so many creators that I follow that grew up in the Middle East whose countries and families have experienced decades and generations of war, losing their mind over the fact that this is being generated primarily by, like Americans. They're like, you have no idea what this rhetoric, the cost it came to generations of my family. And they were trying to speak out and cry out about their experiences. And suddenly the lived experiences of these people don't matter at all. From a movement that is fixated on preserving like a holy edifice, an untouchable edifice on top of a pedestal of the lived experience of people of color and the colonized and all of these lingo that they used. Suddenly, when these people are calling out and being like, hey, do you even understand the consequences of what happened because of this? Do you know what that meant to my family? Do you know what that meant to the women in my life? Do you know what that meant to me as someone who doesn't want to live under this ideology, as someone who's gay? Suddenly the lived experience, this holy edifice, is just thrown out the window. Because you know what? No, this is the wrong narrative from a POC.
that was perfect. Very
Freaking
well put.
embarrassing. So hypocritical. And this is the kind of stuff that made me leave this movement altogether, because you start to notice these hypocrisies. You start to notice the inconsistencies. And once you start to notice one, you notice it again and again and again and again. And then the whole artifice falls down because it is not internally consistent. That was a personal rant. But there was something else you wanted to show? Oh, the Oakland thing. Oh my God. So when you guys ask me, for context, guys, this happened in Oakland. This happened in the Bay Area. And if you don't know about my story, I used to be this person. Believe it or not, I used to be exactly the kind of people that you're about to see on this. I mean, I never went to say this kind of nasty shit at a city council conference or a council meeting. Let me be clear. I never went up and said this nasty shit at a city council conference, but I was surrounded by these kinds of people. I was embedded in these communities. I was embedded in these groups. I lived it. I seen it. I have witnessed these people go smash property, destroy cop cars. I've had the Berkeley police fire pepper spray at me. I've seen people go and vandalize the freaking Navy recruitment office. I participated in occupations of the Department of Homeland Security office. Like, I lived this. So like, I have firsthand experience. This is not an exaggeration. There are more people like this than we even see on this camera. Because I lived in Oakland specifically for over a year. I lived in the Bay Area for almost 10 years. I was radicalized there, and you're about to see why.
Yeah. By the way, guys, this is some very spicy stuff. So please like the stream. Again, we need you guys to like the video to get what we're showing you in front of more eyeballs. So please, the least you could do is just spend half a second and like the stream that you're watching. All right, so let's get into this.
There's not been beheadings of babies and rapings. Israel murdered their own people on October 7th. Calling Hamas a
This is a major conspiracy theory that people are saying that it was the Israeli military themselves. It's unbelievable that people are believing in that.
We're watching
calling Hamas a terrorist organization is
yeah, go on.
Holocaust denialism in real time.
Exactly.
calling Hamas a terrorist organization.
Let me go back to
On October 7th. Calling Hamas a terrorist organization is ridiculous, racist, and plays into genocidal propaganda that is flooding our media and that we should be doing everything possible to combat.
I support the right of Palestinians to resist occupation, including through Hamas, the armed wing of the unified Palestinian resistance.
As an Arab, asking with this context to condemn Hamas is very anti-Arab racist.
The notion that this was a massacre of Jews is a fabricated narrative. Many of those killed on October 7th,
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
including children, were killed by the IDF. An amendment condemning Hamas is bald propaganda meant to...
Thank you. Your time is up.
To hear them complain about Hamas violence is like listening to a wife beater complain when his wife finally stands up and fights back.
Question.
Did anyone else notice that those who oppose this resolution are old white supremacists?
There's been a lot of atrocity propaganda ranging from claims of beheaded babies to mass rape.
Hamas is not a terrorist organization just because the U.S. and Israel deems it so. Hamas is a resistance organization that is fighting for the liberation of Palestinian people and their land.
Wow.
And guys, the context of this is that the city of Oakland was trying to pass a resolution about what happened on October 7th. And there was one single line in that resolution condemning Hamas. That's what they were virulently upset about. That's what they were upset about. That's what they were upset about. Yeah, Zaid is saying, is calling Hamas a terrorist organization racist? Yeah, Zaid, as a Palestinian, how does that make you feel? And I know about a lot about Zaid's story and like personal sacrifices as he's had to make because of this whole situation. So to think that, yeah, to know Palestinians and what they have paid to speak out against this, and how it's being called racist, to dispute, to condemn, to dissent. Do they not have the same right as any other group of people to dissent from radicals, from fringe, from violence, from terror, from tyranny, from within their own group? Fuck that.
Do they know that Hamas on October 7th killed a lot of Arabs and Muslims in Israel as well? Do they know that?
Probably no.
Do they know
Probably
that?
no.
Do they know that Hamas took Muslim girls as hostages as well, Israeli Muslim hostages as from Israel, like took them into Gaza by force? And I don't know if they understand. Do they know a lot of Arabs and Muslims in Israel are united with their fellow Jewish Israelis in condemning Hamas? Like, I don't know. I feel I don't know if I need to even say these things because these people are too far gone.
They're too far
There's
gone.
a whole bunch
I
of
literally watched a video of a Hamas fighter beheading a dude with a shovel who's not even Jewish, who's not even Israeli. He was a Thai foreign worker just doing his job in Israel. Oh, excuse me. That's not terrorism? While I'm watching someone be beheaded with a shovel?
Yeah. So Jean is rightfully pointing out that we managed to get back the Muslim girl and boy, the Muslim girl and boy back. But if I remember correctly, so that's good. That's good that Israel managed to get that Muslim girl back. If I remember correctly, I think they still have her father. Correct me if I'm wrong. But think about this, guys. When Hamas went to Israel and they kidnapped this hijabi, her name is Aisha, right? And let me show you her picture. Aisha, Hamas hostage. I think that's, if I search for that her picture will show up. Yes, this is her. So this one. So this is Aisha, right? So think about this. When Hamas went to Israel and took her as a hostage, do you know what Hamas is admitting? This is an Israeli Muslim woman that Hamas took as hostage. This means that Hamas knows that Israel cares for its citizens, for its Muslim Arab citizens. Because when Hamas was taking hostages, they were taking hostages for Israel's army to come and save them so they could use them as bargaining chip. So what a lot of these Generation Z people don't understand is that Israel cares for all its citizens, including the Muslim and Arab ones. And Hamas knows that. They don't know that, but Hamas know. Hamas doesn't care about its citizens. Hamas doesn't care about its residents, about its Palestinian, about Gazan residents, because they use them as human shield. They are ready to kill them all. But they know that their enemy, Israel's military, cares about its own Muslim citizens. So much so that they're willing to do everything to come and save Aisha. Because Aisha is an Israeli citizen, Hamas knew that Israel would do everything to come and save her. That's what Hamas knows about its enemy.
Yeah, this whole situation, like part of the reason why we didn't even cover it right now is just because I was just so freaking black pilled over the entire situation. And at the end of the day, I have to kind of like practice a certain level of like stoic mindset or non-attachment, being like, you know what, a lot of this is beyond me. I can't control what I can't control, but what I can control is I can continue to promote the values and ideas that I believe will bring the most prosperity to the most number of people. Because I know this can be like very, very concerning and depressing to a lot of people, especially for the people in our community that live in countries that don't even have nearly the same level, the privilege of the same level of freedoms that we have here in America. And to see people in America behaving this way with what they have can honestly make people give up hope. Because I know, Armin, you've been seeing that on the Persian side of our community. And the fact of the matter is, you know, you can't control everything, but what we can control is just to continue to promote a better way of life. And this is freaking embarrassing. It's shameful. It's so shameful.
So we got a lot of comments that you highlighted and a lot more super chats as well. So let's go through those really
quickly. I
quickly.
forgot about those. Thank you. Asian American is saying, oh, I think he was referring to the new converts or reverts, should I say? Excuse me. Thank you for the super chat. Saying these clowns want community and attention and don't know how to find it healthily. They might join Armin as ex-Muslims. That's true. And I hope if they do, they don't have to make the sacrifices that Armin had to make. Angel just became a new member. Thank you, Angel. Welcome to Satan's Minions.
Welcome.
Gasian American, another super chat, thank you, saying Facebook refused to hand over the Urumqi riot organizers. This is in Xinjiang, China, by the way. Plus, China banned them. A TikTok ban would only divide a divided internet and confirm Gen Z's anger at American hypocrisy. Yes, here Gasian is speaking to the fact that a lot of people there's been renewed calls to ban TikTok after this happened. There was even a TikTok ban in Montana that was recently struck down. Now the problem is that it is unconstitutional to just try to unilaterally ban TikTok. There's a lot of people that if they're like, okay, if we're going to have TikTok, we can't ban it, but we want it to be owned by an American company. I don't know about the legality of that, but it's an issue because I do think this is mental poison and kids are literally addicted to it. Another super chat from Gasian saying, do you think Star Wars or Hunger Games Mockingjay could have radicalized the wokeists? I don't know. I think it's more of what's taught in school nowadays, at least on the West Coast. Like so much education is literally just to turn kids into activists. And I'm of the generation where that started to take effect. So I would know. I can't speak to the rest of America. I'm a total West Coast baby. Angry Keyboard Warrior saying, did this change your opinion on whether the woke or far right is the biggest threat in the West? Armin, I wanted to ask you this question because we've been having some conversations.
Well, I mean, I think the woke is the greater threat because it's a threat from within. So what we are trying to understand what the threats are, we have to understand what we're trying to protect. What we are trying to protect is liberal values, enlightenment values, the liberal values. And what we have to look at, what is the greatest threat. I will tell you also what the main threat of the far right is, right? So the threats to the world liberal order are Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, the far right, and the communist left and the woke left. So there's two brands of left that are a threat to liberalism. One of them is communism. The other one is wokeism. So wokeism, it's uniquely different from all of these other ones that we mentioned, is because it has the brand and the language of liberalism. and it is within liberal countries. So it's an infection from within liberal countries. So, and it's so close, it sounds like liberal values. It rides on the wave of liberalism, and it's harder for people, from especially younger people, to distinguish between liberalism and wokeism, because so many of the things they say just sounds like the same, right? And basically it's a mutation. Wokeism is a mutation of liberalism, and that's why they sound so much the same. So that's why wokeism is uniquely different from all these threats, because it's coming from inside the house, right? The calls come from the house, right? And so it has already passed that barrier. So it could go at the roots of the liberalism. The far right is, and I don't want to dismiss how dangerous the far right is, because the far right is as a reaction to wokeism, the far right could take power, and a lot of people could see it as a legitimate solution or pushback against wokeism. And the danger with the far right is that it's very protectionist, and while wokeism is a threat to the ideological strength of liberalism, the far right is a threat to the military power and the unity that world liberal orders have with each other. So far right is, when it comes, they're so-called anti-globalist, and by anti-globalist it means that they're against the unity and working together of countries that are supposed to be liberal. And again, remember, the threats against liberalism are global, so the reaction to it needs to be global. It needs to be united. Liberal powers need to come together, use their military and use their other resources to make sure that liberals are defending themselves strongly against illiberal world orders like China, like Russia, like the Islamic Republic of Iran, like Islamism. And the far right wants to take that apart, and by fighting against globalism, it's basically reducing the strength of liberals. So that's why how uniquely dangerous the far right is. But if you want to, and they both are a reaction together. So unfortunately, wokeism brings far right, and far right brings wokeism. So it's kind of like a chain reaction. And again, it's hard to measure how big of a threat these are. But if you consider the threat from within to be a uniquely special kind of threat, then it could be argued that wokeism is the worst kind, because it also leads to all these other ones as well, all these other threats as well.
There's another comment or super chat by All Colors. Thank you. Saying Gen Z has already been shown to refute evidence many times. This isn't different. They're those who believe in astrology and conspiracy theories. They're the same who think that Putin is right in invading Ukraine because Western world bad. Ideology matters more to them than truth. Well, the Ukraine situation is a little different for Gen Z. I mean, it's the full-blown tankies that are pro-Russia. And we followed up with another super chat saying most wokes become tankies later on. That's not necessarily true in my experience. Because I mean, we're using woke as shorthand. There's a lot of people that don't even like to use the term anymore because it's so generalized or bloated or refers to really inaccurate things. But we're just using it basically as a shorthand. It's really the woke people that have socialist or communist leanings that become full-blown tankies later on. But that's not a lot of other people that are into this diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI stuff. And GJ gives us a super chat. Thank you. Saying, well put, Armin, regarding the point you made about Aisha, who was recently rescued.
Thank you.
Oops. And here's what you were in responding to what you were just saying, Armin. Unicorn brought up this point, saying the far right is at least candid with their goals. The far left is insidious liars hiding under the guise of liberalism, or more like liberation, hiding under the guise of liberation, but they're actually full-blown fascists. And this is very, very true. And literally, I find it easier to be friends with people who have like more authoritarian right-leaning tendencies than people who have authoritarian left-leaning tendencies. Like I have friends that are like
Not that we
full-blown.
agree with them, though.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm saying, like, I have friends that are like they're monarchists. Some of them are absolute monarchists. That's what they are in favor of. And I find it easier to be friends with them because they are honest about what they believe. They'll come out and say it. instead of twisting and manipulating and lying and intellectual dishonesty about the consequences of what they're promoting, like many of the people that I know who are communists.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.